Welcome to Small Business Saturday.
Welcome to Small Business Saturdays video series with your host and my husband.
And my dad, Aaron Montgomery.
Join the conversation.
Let's talk some business.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome into Small Business Saturdays. I am excited to talk with you folks today about predictions. So I don't have a crystal ball, but if I did, I'd have it sitting here right in front of me. And we'd be getting ready to look into the crystal ball and say, okay, what do we got? What's coming up here? So that's what we're going to try to do today. I've got three things that I think within our e-commerce world that we need to be considering, thinking about, kind of, looking ahead and working on this on our websites and that kind of thing. So, but with that being said, I also need help from you guys. I also need help from everybody that's checking in out there this morning. And in fact, let's check in with some folks here first. So Sandy, good morning. And Jerry, good morning. And Christine, good morning. And Curtis and Terry and Wade. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. So like I said, I'm looking for help from you guys this morning as well. Not help, but I want to open the conversation up a little bit more. I want you guys to really participate today if you're joining in here live. And so just be ready at the comments section. And because like I said, I'm going to share some things. I've got three things that I think are some predictions, some ideas for e-commerce kind of moving forward here. But I want to hear from you guys. And I know we've got people here that are on all different kind of sides of where they're at in their website life, so to speak, growing, building, new, kind of updating and things like that. So that's perfect. I want to know what you guys are predicting or looking ahead or going, okay, this is what I need to do with my website around e-commerce. Or just in general with websites. We can talk a little bit more about non-e-commerce websites as well. So that's what I'm hoping for from you guys today. So that's your assignment this morning. And I will bring my ideas. You guys bring your ideas and we'll have a great time. How about that? All right. Perfect. So, but before we begin, I do want to just mention something real quick. I'm looking here at the folks in the comments and I'm seeing some folks that are already Success Tracker members. And so I'm looking to hear where you're at with your Success Tracker. What's the latest? What are you doing each and every day? Are you following those steps and doing all that? If you are not a Success Tracker member, let me tell you a little bit about it real quick. And right down here, this way, right down there is the link, and it's oursuccessgroup.com/ST for Success Tracker. So what it's all about is basically it's a framework, it's support, it's cheerleading, and it's a little bit of accountability for us to set a 12-month goal. And it doesn't have to be, a yearly. And again, we've had people kind of all over the board. We've had some people that want to get to things a little bit faster than 12 months. We've had some things a little bit further out, but the cycle here is really a 12-month cycle. And so with that being said, this particular process, the Success Tracker process, I think we need to explain it just a little bit more so people understand, because like I said, what it is you decide what is it that I want specifically about 12 months from now. Okay. And it's like, oh, I want more customers. Okay. Well, like I said, it's specifically what do you want more? What do you want in 12 months? So, it's, I would like to have 100 new customers that have purchased more than $100 worth of stuff in 12 months. Or maybe it's, I would like to earn $20,000 in profit in the next 12 months. Or maybe it's, I would like to grow my Facebook group to an X number in 12 months, or Christine, I'm going to publish a book in 12 months, that kind of thing. So that's the first part of it. You guys got to figure that out. And then we also set a milestone in there, because the milestone's important, because, 12 months, it depends on which way you're looking at it, but some days it feels really long, and some days it feels like, oh my gosh, is it really already, the 15th of January? It feels like we're still getting out of the end of 2020. So wherever you're at, but what the milestone does for us, that milestone is something that is like, doesn't have to be a halfway point, but it has to be something, an accomplishment, kind of like the goal, but just an accomplishment that you hit at the halfway point that says to you, hey, I'm actually getting there. Okay, it's that extra little push to go, okay, I'm reaching towards this goal. It's kind of hard. It's kind of a little bit scary sometimes, but I know I can do it. And this milestone really gives me that kind of second wind. It's kind of like the turbo booster hitting, because you go, oh man, yeah, I got it. Cool. Now I'm well on my way to reaching that goal. So that's the first part. You guys set that, do your best. What normally happens, and I think Todd had mentioned this once before, but about 75% of all of the success tracker submittals we do kind of reach back out. We say, hey, okay, can you help us clarify this? And let's get a little more clear on this. And what are the specifics of this, blah, blah, blah. And we try to help adjust those goals for people, because we know that if they're not set up in the right way, they're just not attainable, because our subconscious mind, are the things around us don't know exactly how to help us, so that's the first part. You set those goals, and then we're going to put it out there so other people know. And so you're going to get support from the community, and people are going to go, okay, what can I do to help? And that kind of thing. And then we're just going to follow up with you on incremental stages, and you're going to work on it. And here's the deal. In the packet that you get a welcome packet. There's a couple of things that you get. And again, I try to always keep mine in my pocket. You get a round to it. And basically, this is just a physical reminder that, hey, I've got this goal. And whenever I look at this, I got to go, you know what? I need to take action on that goal. I'm going to get around to it. It's, oh yeah, I want to do that thing, but I just can't find the time to get around to it. Well, there you go. You've got it right there, around to it. So, and then within that, there's also a very clear structure of here's what you do each day. And it's not a ton. You look at the goal. There's a few other steps. You set up some actions that you're going to do every day, and it's just going to build, and it's just going to progress. And then once you hit that milestone, you're going to share that with the group. And I don't have the coffee mug, but you're going to get a coffee mug. And then you're going to build and work your way to that goal, and you're going to end up getting a T-shirt that, and you'll complete your certificate. You'll have a little decal that will, I don't know if you see it. It goes right down in that corner right there. So that's what the Success Tracker program is all about. Hopefully that makes sense for folks, and I think it's just a really great tool that allows you to have a couple tangible things. It allows you to have a little extra support. It allows you to kind of put it out there to the world, to the universe, whatever it is that resonates with you. You're putting it out there, and anything that we put out there in a positive way, and we believe it's possible, it will come back to us. It might not come back to us exactly the way we thought it would, but it will come back to us somewhere, somehow, and it just depends on how much you're willing to work for it. So there we go. That's my success tracker story. And hopefully, like I said, if you guys have questions about it, please let me know. Jerry says some days do feel very long. Aaron, yes, there are definitely some days that do feel very long. And Heidi says, I need to change my goal. And I know you said LOL, but that's totally okay though. Okay. I do want to just mention that part while you brought that up, Heidi. And because goals do change, things do change, and sometimes we set a goal and we're just kind of there and it's like, wait a second, is that really what I want? And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. That's actually perfectly part of the process, is that you do have to grow and change and move forward. Just Heidi, let us know. We'll figure that out. It's a certificate. We can make that happen. All right, cool. All right, everybody. So again, that's my quick pitch on that. I'm not trying to pitch anybody, but I really do think that this is a valuable tool, and my job to provide those resources and tools to help you achieve your idea of success. So I just want to make sure that I'm sharing those tools when I can. But let's get into what we're here to talk about today. What we're talking about, again, just as a reminder, we're talking about e-commerce, web, kind of a little bit of a hybrid of both, but mainly towards the e-commerce and what we're predicting to happen, what we think is going to happen. Because if we can think ahead about what's going to happen, then we can start making the changes ahead of time and be ahead of the curve once it comes time, once these things do become reality, right? So e-commerce is, at this point, I think we can all agree that it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. 2020 forced a lot of those last hangers on to that. It's the only way that in today's world that things are going to happen. It just is what it is. I'm not exactly sure the best way to put it, but we either have to continue to really brush against it and fall behind, or we can embrace it and allow that to be a positive in our businesses. So, Joe, good morning. Thanks for being here. And I missed Jerry. Jerry, good morning as well. Great. So e-commerce is here to stay. Forbes, I'm just reading it to make sure I get it right here. Forbes announced that, and I believe, based on the information I could gather here, is that they're reporting that this was the year-over-year growth before 2020 hit. So year-over-year growth of e-commerce sales was 129%. And or maybe that was that. Either way, that's a lot of growth, right? So year-over-year growth of 129% of e-commerce sale. And so Heidi says, embrace and shifted. Let's do this. Awesome. I like it. Great. So embrace, shifted. Let's do this. Same thing with e-commerce. Let's embrace it. Let's shift. Let's do this. So with that being said, as we're getting more and more into the e-commerce world ourselves, again, depending on wherever you're at in that phase, there are times where we're going to have to really embrace the e-commerce world and figure out how that works for us. Now, everybody's business is going to be a little different. I'm not saying you have to go get this full-fledged e-commerce designer whole thing, but you do have to think about the customers and think about how they're buying and think about what it is that's important to them, and then make sure that your website can do that for them. Right? So we don't need to build a website for our sake. What we need to do is think about what the goal of our website is and how do we normally interact with our customers, the customers that we want to be interacting with, and how can we make that easier for them? So if your customers are the types of people that do want to just go to a website and in their pajamas in the middle of the night or whenever and make that purchase and have something show up, that is something that you need to embrace and need to figure out. But if they want to, just go there to get some information, request a quote, kind of make that process of answering the questions that you need answered by them, then you need to embrace that and figure out a better way to do that. Or maybe it's through Etsy, or maybe it's Facebook, or it just, whatever it is, we've got to think about that. But what I've discovered is that a lot of people go, okay, well, I just want to build this website because I'm going to build it, and then all these customers are going to show up because I've got this website. Well, actually, your website is just like if you were to go build a storefront. People aren't just going to show up at your storefront. Yes, maybe they'll walk by and see it. Maybe they'll find you in a search and that kind of thing. but you still have to work, do marketing, do things to get people into your website, just like you would have to work to do things to get people into your storefront. So and then what happens when we just think, okay, I'm going to build this website and they're going to show up, is when that's our mode of thinking, what happens there is that then we're disappointed and, oh, we're not getting any sales, and well, who knows about it? What's the traffic like? What are you doing to tell people about it? Are you picking up the phone and saying, hey, are you interested? And, oh, and by the way, are you and if you are interested, go to my website. Here's all the information, but there's a clear button on there if you want to call me, or blah, 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 blah. Right? Okay. So all of that, but you have to, again, determine what it is that you want your website to do for you. Because if what you want your website to do for you is get you all of these new customers and have them just show up magically, that if you build it, they will come. That's not true in this case. You looked at the number, the 129% year-over-year growth. That means everybody's got a website now. So what is yours going to do to stand out? What is yours going to do to talk to your ideal customer? And then what are you doing to tell them about it? Right? Like, are you doing a Facebook Live and showing them the website? People aren't going to just show up at a website unless they know about it and they have a reason to go, right? I don't just search the web all day long trying to find places to buy from. I go to places where I've bought before and I know the process and it's something that I want or need, and I know about it, right? Or I'll search and then they show up at the search, and the only way to show up on the search is to make sure that lots of people are talking about it and people are going there and there's content that cause people to find it, or you're paying for it. All of these things kind of come in conjunction. So that's my soapbox real quick about e-commerce. So start there. And that's not a prediction. That's been the case forever, is that you have to understand and determine what you want your website to ultimately do for you, and then figure out how you're going to make it do that for you. So it's not just build it and they will come. It's build it, get people there, get people talking about it, do the marketing, still make the calls, still send, Sandy sent a whole bunch of letters, the direct mail pieces and things like that. So these are all great ways to get people there. Do the live and show it, or put a new product up. Make sure that you're sharing that in different places that you're already engaged with, talking to potential customers. So that's the quick soapbox about websites. But let's talk a little bit about what we think is going to happen more and more, and in turn, what how we can maybe look ahead to that a little bit. And again, this is just a couple of my thoughts. At this point, I would love to hear your thoughts. What is it that you're thinking is going to happen based on your customers and what you need to do to improve your website? What are the predictions that you have for the way us as humans are going to continue to change the way we buy things, right? I mean, even groceries nowadays are getting to a point where there are more and more people that never walk into a grocery store. They'll use Instacart or some program like that, and that has always been the staple of, keeping away from online, because a grocery store was such a challenge for e-commerce people to do, because you have that, how do I get it to the customer thing? You had that gap, because I can't, put a gallon of milk in UPS or in the post office, and when it shows up 3 months later, that it's still going to be good, right? So that was the holdout. But things are changing, and now people are buying their groceries online. They're buying their dinners online. They're not, they couldn't go to restaurants, and so things like DoorDash and Postmates and some of those others really grew as well. And the reason I bring this up is that you have to, again, understand what it is that your customers are experiencing. We're still quarantined for the most part in a lot of places. Different places have loosened a little bit more and then gone back and all that kind of fun stuff. And, here in Missouri, we can still go out into the world quite a bit, not in huge groups, which is good. So we're reducing the spread and if masks are still required and all that other stuff. But if I can just go, you know what, this is quick and easy. I think about Amazon. That's exactly how they became the behemoth that they are. They thought about what it was that they were selling, what it was that their customers needed, and how could they make that as easy as possible. Their website is still to this day fairly not very well put together in general, just kind of basic in a lot of ways, but it's simple. It's super simple. You can click one button and the thing shows up to you. And so that's what, but that they didn't focus around their website on that. The website was just a tool. So with that tool, they focused on what it was that they wanted the website to do and then built those services. So part of the website is, yes, that I can click one button, but the other part of the website is the Amazon Prime, that I click one button and it shows up in 2 days most of the time. So think about the website as a tool, not as this is just the end all be all. So let's see. Wendy's got one here. She said, before I have even finished my new website, I have my blog up and live to help people know who we are and what we're doing. That's perfect, Wendy. That's an excellent point. Yeah, it's as you're building your e-commerce site, what other things are going on around it? A blog is a great one, because then when the e-commerce is kind of in place and ready to go, you'll already have that search engine opportunity. People know what it's about, know what the content is. You're bringing in those folks through that. Another good thing to do is just the videos and posting and social engagement, and then getting into groups and participating and being active so people know who you are. And then when they have a question, because we all get into the groups that are appealing to us. We're all, I think, I would say pretty much everybody here is in the Business Basics group, which is a fantastic group. And it's a group we should be in, because that gives us an opportunity to ask questions and learn about our industry and our trade. But we also need to be in the groups of the things that our target customers, our niche market, is all about. So if my niche market was volleyball, I need to be in those groups. And I'm not in those groups selling. I'm not in those groups saying, hey, here's my pitch, here's my product. I'm in those groups interacting, but also making it very clear who I am and what I do, right? By having my profiles filled out, by, just kind of having those things around it. So anyhow, well, I haven't even gotten into the predictions yet, and I'll keep going way off the beaten path here if you guys let me. But Terry says, this session is just for me. Imagine to have to see if I can watch later. Busy with family in neuro ICU. Oh, Terry, my thoughts and prayers are with you and your family. Yes, this will be right here, available to rewatch right here on Facebook or over on YouTube at Live OSG. There's a Small Business Saturdays channel, so totally understand. Come back and catch it when you're ready. All right. So there again, I've said this probably 3 times now. I'm done. I'm ready to move on, but let's do it. I'm just going to make myself move on, because I'll keep going here. So the first prediction that I have, the first thing that I think is going to happen, and I kind of alluded to this, I talked a little bit about it yesterday on the Two Regular Guys podcast. So if you went over to facebook.com/Two Regular Guys and take a listen to that. And the part that I talked about yesterday, that is my prediction for today, is this idea of continued personalization. Now, what I talked about on Two Regular Guys yesterday was even more and more personalization, i.e., custom made sized garments, custom designed, everything completely custom, and easy to use tool that I don't have to be, as the buyer, I don't have to be the designer and all that other stuff, but I can feel creative in that, it's sized for me. It's, I get to pick and choose and put elements together and the text and change the, whatever. So all of that. And then I get to see it right there, and I get to push a button, and in 3, 4, 5, depending on how the post office is doing days, the item shows up. Right. So that's the personalization I'm talking about here. But in general, what is the personalization? What is it that you can do to personalize the experience for your customers? Um, Now, again, that could just be making sure that they know that they can personalize the product and make it their own, and help them understand how special that makes them feel. Um, or going even more, you can also make it to where you have different sections of your website, to where your website will cater to different niche markets. All too often we throw up a website, we put all of the products on top of it, and then people show up and they go, oh my god, it's that Cheesecake Factory menu experience. Some people love it and it's a talking point, but for me personally, I actually don't go to the Cheesecake Factory because I get in there and I get overloaded. I'm like, I make too many decisions throughout the normal course of my day. I don't need to spend an hour reading their menu. And the same thing goes for a lot of people's website. That's what Amazon does so well, is they have it sectioned out. Their search is fantastic. It's right there big on the top, and they show up, and somebody shows up and says, hey, I want a, red coffee mug personalized. Well, guess what shows up? Red coffee mugs that are personalized. So, but then you can also do it to where, okay, I'm in this group talking about dogs, and I've got a line of pet products. Well, even though it's all in my website and people can get to the other places outside of the pet products, when I'm talking about it and they say, hey, I'm interested, or hey, I have this need for a collar or a blanket, or whatever it is that the pet product is, of dog dish, of a mat that they lay on, whatever the product is, and you send them to a specific link. So it's your website / pet lovers, or whatever, and that takes them to a place where it looks and feels like a front page of a website, and it has those specific things, maybe even branded to them a little bit. And like I said, then there's some links where they can see what else is there. But you're talking in the silos. You're not, the concern is not to make sure they know about everything that you do. And the reason for that is that gives them overwhelm. And when there's confusion, and there's not clarity, a purchase decision is not going to be made on a website. Now they may love your products and love what you're doing enough to where they'll pick up the phone and they want to ask some questions. But when we don't have clarity, when it doesn't feel right to us, we're not going to make that emotional decision to purchase on a website. So get clear, get into those silos, and make that happen to where, yes, they can get exactly to what they want. And then here's the great part is, then your job is to then also let them know after they've made the purchase, after they've made that initial purchase. So get that new customer, because once they become a customer, then you're going to wow them with the service, wow them with the product, wow them with you. And once you've wowed them with you, and then you can go to work on letting them know about the other things, letting them know about the new things, because now they're a customer. Now they're in your database. Now you're marketing to them. Now you're, sending their product, and, maybe they've bought 12 of something, and you want to make sure that you're selling more hats. So you add a hat in there, that kind of thing. So now is when you can let them know all about everything else, because they've made that purchasing decision. They feel good about doing business with you. So that's the thought. How do we personalize not only, the opportunity to personalize products? That's one thing, but also how do we personalize for that specific customer? Is the next thing to think about. So let me go check some comments here. Joe says, how do you deal with the notion of if you gain a customer by the web, you will also lose a customer to the web? That's a very good question, Joe. Let me come back to that. Let me catch a couple other comments. And before we get into the second prediction, let's cover that. That's a great discussion point, Joe. Thank you. I've really tried to notice what I like in the websites, who I do purchase from, and what I like. Just FYI, on a supplier side, I dread when I have to order from Alpha Broder. They are my poster child drop down menu dread. Exactly. Yeah, that's a perfect way to do this for sure. Yeah, what is it that you like? I've actually don't buy a whole lot of garments, and for the most part stuck with Sanmar, because it felt more comfortable to me. It felt easier to find things. It felt like I could check what I was looking for, and the right things would pop up for me. I wasn't overwhelmed. But when I've had to go to SNS, I for whatever reason I feel overwhelmed there. So anyhow, it's definitely one of those things. Okay, so Heidi says, I switched from e-commerce site to Etsy. I tried the big boy site for a year. My customers like Etsy for some reason. I'm not a fan of it myself, but I'm adopting to my audience. And Heidi, that's personalized. If your customers like Etsy, then personalize it. What I would recommend is to kind of keep that going, your own personal website going in the background, and all of those Etsy customers, hopefully you're now getting data about who they are, and they can get into your marketing mix. You can send them emails after the fact with a new product that's available exclusively on your website or something along those lines. So use Etsy to find those new customers, and embracing it like you're doing. That's perfect. But see if you can continue to funnel back the customers into your website. Because the trouble with Etsy, and I'm guessing this is probably one of the reasons you're not a fan either, Heidi, and one of the reasons why, again, to me, it's just a tool to get new customers, is that at the end of the day, it's Etsy's site. And even if we're doing Shopify or something like that, it's still our site. It's still our brand. If Shopify wants to go away, that's fine. We still have all of our products. We still have all that information. I know the argument's been that I can't just switch. Baloney, you own the URL of now, if your URL is mystore.shopify.com, then no, you do not own that URL, but you can set it up to where people go to, in my wife's case, it's people go to weheart.biz, and that's her website that she owns. She can move that to BigCommerce, to Equid, to wherever she wants, whenever she wants. The content there, we can export a CSV of all the data that we've put in there that has the descriptions and pictures and and then upload that to another site. So we still have control over those types of things. But with Etsy, we don't. Now you can set your URL up, the mysite.com. You can set that up to go to your Etsy store, and that can kind of work where your URL is getting some juice, so to speak. But with Etsy, again, they have a tendency to kind of change things pretty quickly at their own behest. So, all right, Christine says, subject-specific landing pages can be very helpful. Also very useful if you're doing any kind of social media advertising, eliminating barriers and take people directly to what they want, and they'll buy more frequently. Yep, exactly. And Christine said it really well there, just eliminating barriers. That's what happens with most of our sites, is people get there and there's a barrier. But what happens is, if we're having a face-to-face conversation with somebody, or even a phone conversation, or whatever, however you're interacting with people, when we're interacting with people, we can kind of understand by the objections they have what their barriers to purchasing are. When somebody's buying from a website, we have no real way of knowing what their barriers are, what their objection is. They're not telling us anything. They're not giving us any feedback, unless we're working to try to get that feedback by doing things like installing hotjar.com onto your site, which will give you some visualization of what people are doing and where they're leaving from. If you've got to look at the analytics and understand where they're coming from, where they're leaving from, and some of that stuff. So there's some things to dig into, and there's some ways we can find some information. You can ask them to fill out feedback for a chance to win. And then you can really work on your customer experience map and making sure that you've gone through the entire order process. Yesterday, Eric Campbell on Two Regular Guys was talking about that. Go buy something from your website. And I'm not saying just go do a test order. I want you to go actually physically take out your credit card, spend the money, spend the 3.25% on credit card fees to purchase something from your website, run it through the normal process, ship it to yourself. Again, now you're going to spend some money on shipping, but this will show you exactly. So use a personal website or personal email. Go set up just a random Gmail account or something like that, to where you can order using that, and then see what all of the things that show up. I like to go in and add a product to my cart and then abandon it and see make sure that the follow-up is working, that I've set up automatically. What are the follow-up emails that you've set up? Are those working? Do those look right? What are the links? So just go through that process. And that's how we get feedback from the website, or have somebody else do it and give you feedback, that kind of thing. So very, very good points. Eliminate those barriers. And Jerry asked, Christine, do you mean individual landing pages within your website? So Jerry, I'll answer that if actually Christine already answered it, but yes, Jerry, you can build more than one landing page. And when you set up advertising, you select a landing page, customers are led to that ad. Yeah. And that's exactly it. Jerry, is that you have your web page, but you should be able to have my web page / like I said, pets, my web page / within our Success Group's website. If you go to our main website, you've got the normal links there, and those are all there. But behind our website, what you don't see there is that there are also, I don't know exactly how many, but probably 12, 13, 14, 15 different pages that you can't directly click to from our website, because they are a specific landing page. Hey, we were here doing this seminar, and thanks for being here. And they go to our landing page, they put in their information to get a little extra information from us. And then that page will then redirect them to buy a membership, success tracker, whatever it is that we're trying to do. But you can have that same setup inside your website, where it's like, hey, are you interested in these products or these services? Boom, go here, and then go talk. Then they can see all that. Once they're done with that, still have the links to where they can go search around and find other stuff. Don't just make it this complete silo, but don't overwhelm them with everything that you have. If somebody's coming to you for screen printing, they might not care about all the embroidery stuff that you do. And if there's too much for them, they're going to go, I'm just going to go find somebody that's a screen printer. Right. Or I'm just going to go find somebody that deals in shirts. I don't want to see all this other sublimation stuff. It's too much for me, kind of thing. All right. All right. Mike says it's also a vital item when considering ongoing membership sites as well. Nothing wrong with paying yourself monthly. That is a general service check all the way through the process. Absolutely. Christine says, make sure you're paying attention to analytics as well. Analytics can point out where barriers to the sale are, where are customers dropping off the site, what stage are people in when they abandon their cart. Analytics will tell you all sorts of stuff. So Christine, just to tell a quick story about this, and I know I've told this before, so apologize if you guys have heard this, but like I said, I love Hotjar, Hotjar. Within Hotjar, we actually set that up, and Kylene had set this up on her site, and she was doing some Facebook advertising, and she was sending people to her website and I can't remember, I think it was like holiday products or something like that. And so the Facebook advertising, sending people a website, and yes, the traffic went up, so the Facebook ads did their job, the traffic went up, but no sales happened. Well, at that point, yeah, you're like, oh, okay, now what do I got to do? But with Hotjar, we were able to go back, pinpoint the traffic that had come in from Facebook, from those ads, and then it records what they do on your website. And basically what we discovered was we were sending people to the website. She was sending people to the website, and they weren't getting to the product that they saw on the ad right away. They were just getting dumped into kind of more of a general holiday items landing page. And so they were searching for the product. That particular product that was used in the advertisement was new, so it hadn't been sorted correctly inside the list of all the other products, and it was at the very bottom. And for whatever reason, at the time, we didn't have a search function enabled either. And so people were just all over the place, and they never got to the product that was being advertised. And therefore they left, that they spent 2 minutes on the site, and that's enough. Right. So, all right. So there we go. Basic landing pages will funnel customers towards a particular sales goal. There we go. All right. So that is number 2. Jerry, we'll let people kind of come up with what they do. We actually talked about that in our success group training just this last Wednesday. So that stuff's over there and available for our members in that discussion. There's definitely several different ways to go about that. Honestly, what your accountant suggests is probably the best idea, but there were some different ideas on that. So, all right. So the second trend here is, and I think this is just a good trend to understand from a standpoint of businesses got lots of opportunities for us as decorators right now. The athleisure and the streetwear, and I'm wearing a t-shirt right now, right? It's the middle of January. Did snow a little bit yesterday, but guess what? We're in our house. You would never know if I'm wearing pants or not, right? And this is how most people are going to work every day, just like this. So, so wearing t-shirts, wearing something that's comfortable, wearing sweatpants or yoga pants or whatever it is that is comfortable for somebody. Now, I'm wearing jeans, so no worries. I do have pants on, but these types of things are becoming more common, right? So you're not going into the office as much anymore. And I was talking to some friends last night that work at Edward Jones, which is a huge employer here in the St. Louis area, the finance company. So they work at Edward Jones in the corporate office, in the big office. So within that experience, though, it was interesting to talk to them because, they've been working from home since last March. And at this point, they're not seeing going back to the office anytime soon. So that's still happening. And then the other part of it is that they're pretty sure that the way things are going to change is that they're no longer going to be offices. They're just going to be some work areas where you come in, you sign up for a conference room if you need to do an in-person meeting, and you're just in part-time. So most of the major employers are no longer going to be requiring their employees to be in the office every day, because that's going to do a couple things for them. I think it allows them, they've discovered over the course of this year that actually productivity has gone up when they allowed people to work at home. And the right employees were using that in a way that, they got more done, and while they could still focus on their family and do all this other stuff. So there's that. And then the other part about it is that they can also not spend all of the money that they have to spend on having offices, on maintaining big buildings and all this other stuff. So they can reduce their physical footprint for the company down, allow people to use their homes to work from, allow people to be more comfortable, allow people to have a refrigerator that they can go to right there, allow people to, now, again, there are some drawbacks to it. The engagement, the interaction, that kind of stuff. People are kind of getting tired of all the virtual, all that stuff. So yes, they're going to have to find a hybrid approach. But my guess is that people are going to continue to push the envelope of what's comfortable, what's acceptable. And I don't think these big companies are going to be so concerned anymore about, are you wearing yoga pants? Are you, do you have a suit on? The new suit is the, button down shirt with a sports coat and Hawaiian surf shorts. I don't know what that is, but again, people are going to be needing more comfortable items like t-shirts, like sweatshirts. Now, that's a huge opportunity for you to get in front of companies to talk to them about the fact that, hey, you know what? Yes, you want your employees to feel comfortable. You want your employees to, they're at home. And so let's help them also, though, brand their employees, have that connection point. When I show it's the exact same reason why people are still buying family reunion shirts for Zoom family reunions, because it's that connectedness. We all show up wearing the exact same shirt, exact same color, and we know that we're part of the family, right? And so use that opportunity as a business to grow your corporate sales, to grow the family reunion sales. And again, just by trying to predict what's going to happen, we can make that an easy process. So now we have a silo for family reunions, or now we have a silo for corporate, or whatever the case may be. But think about that fact. So more and more, again, athleisure, streetwear, t-shirts, hoodies, all of those kinds of things are becoming more and more mainstream acceptable in the workplace. All right. So that's my second prediction. What other predictions do you guys have? Yes, sorry for the visual, Mike. And so, but what other predictions do you guys have around that? Obviously the fleece shortage has been a major drain on a lot of folks, and a big challenge for everybody. And actually I did yesterday, and two regular guys try to kind of call out the folks that are bringing us our hoodies, and I get it. We couldn't predict a lot of these things that happened in 2020, but what is it that they're doing to improve it? What's kind of driven me a little bit nuts from a standpoint of like the shipping companies and the people that provide products and goods that help other businesses, is that it went from like, okay, this is not good and this is not working, to it's COVID's fault. It's COVID's fault. Oh, that's COVID's fault. Well, okay. But COVID's been around since March, right? March of 2020. So we're almost a year into where we first shut down most places, where we first went into quarantine. So I know that there's still challenges, but what creativity are these companies bringing to the table? There wasn't, to me, from my vantage point, and I'm not as involved in the day-to-day purchasing of garments as some of you guys are, so maybe I'm amiss and you guys will let me know, but I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of warning about the fact that fleece was going to be a problem. I've got accounts with SNS and Sanmar, and I never got a notification, never got an email that, hey, fleece is going to be a problem, so maybe stock up now. In fact, I got a couple of emails when I knew that fleece was already a problem from companies like Fruit of the Loom and I think Hanes, showing off a new fleece product, but then they weren't available, right? So again, what creativity can we bring to the table that allows us to better manage pandemics, crises, things like that? So anyhow, that's my kind of pitch. But I want to definitely, like I said, I want to hear from you guys and understand in your decorating business, what you're seeing, what you're seeing along that same lines of kind of more comfortable things happening, and then on the flip side of that, if we think about the fact that then more comfortable streetwear, athleisure, that kind of stuff is becoming more mainstream, well, maybe also think about the opposite of that. When all of a sudden hard copies of magazines and things in the mail and stuff like that became less of the norm, and we went to email, we went to online content and all this other stuff. Well, what happened though is that other stuff didn't die. It actually became kind of oh, that's different. Oh, that makes that person stand out, because when I get a nice, big, fat, thick, well done magazine, I recently got one of the Graphics Pro magazines, and they saw that opportunity. They brought all their magazines into one so they could still have a nice, thick, well printed magazine. I like that. I'll actually read through that. I peruse through their e-content, but their magazine, I'll actually read it cover to cover when I'm just sitting there doing stuff. So there's some other thoughts. So the same thing. So maybe you're going to focus on more dressed up looks. Maybe you're embroidering more polos or pushing that, or you're embroidering actual nice button down shirts, or you're doing things that are lapels for sports coats. Again, what's going to set you apart? So all right, let's see here what we've got comments wise. Mike says the next 3 years will generate the launch point for several online processors that will understand that we're tired of the because of COVID blanket that's being used for why these things don't work, are late, and make us emotional. Yeah, I agree with that 100%, Mike. I've said this throughout the whole COVID experience is that at the end of the day, this is forcing innovation. It's forcing change. It's forcing things that, again, people just kind of sat on because it wasn't as important at the time. But these things are making it important. And Mike, yes, the post office, we'll see what happens to it over the next 3 years. So I think that tentacle will be generated from the government. Okay. So getting into that. Perfect. Mike, thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. So Cindy says, we just tried to order fleece, big problem, still problem with just regular t-shirts. We just keep searching until we find pieces. One order right now is coming from 5 locations. Exactly. So my question then, Cindy, is I want to know what they're doing to solve that problem. Who's working to solve that problem? Because the person that's working to solve that problem as quickly as they can, that's the person that is going to win the most business out the other side of this, right? The one that's most upfront, that's taking responsibility for their own piece in that. We can't get it. Well, you know what? If you're a distributor, you should have been in better contact with the manufacturer to try to get out in front of as much of this as you can. Get out in front of your customers more. Get out in front of bringing in more. Everybody spends a little too much time being concerned about their bottom line and not enough time being concerned about their customer, right? And so those that are concerned about their customers are the ones that are going to eventually win, even though at first it might not feel like that, right? So Wendy says, the only company that I've received a problem notification for was Allenson Sports for uniforms last summer. They were 8 to 10 weeks out for custom uniforms. Okay. All right. So again, being open, being honest, being upfront, people understand that. Even if their initial reaction is, that's I got to go look for something else. Or at the end of the day, if you're open and honest and deliver what you promise you're going to deliver, things are going to, we're going to remember that. We're going to go back to that. In fact, us as the buyers, as the purchasers, we need to make sure that we are focused on that. Who is actually doing right by you? Maybe it's not the ideal situation, but they're doing the right thing. And so maybe even if they're a little bit more expensive than the other guy in the next time, maybe take that chance to support that loyalty that they did the right thing for you. You do the right thing by them by supporting their business. So excellent. Yes. Cindy says, I cannot see that anyone is, like you say, they just repeat, oh, it's COVID. Yeah. And okay, we understand that it's COVID, but I want to know what solutions we're working on, right? Let's talk about the solution that you're working on to, okay, you've got the COVID problem. We've all got the COVID problem. But now let's flip that on ourselves. Make sure that we're not making excuses for our business, for what we do, for our life, because it's COVID. Okay. Things happen, people get sick. We got to deal with that, but let's focus on the solution. Let's work on finding a solution. If something's that passionate for you, then that you're willing to get into an argument with people about it, then why not work on finding the solution as opposed to just work on being part of the argument, right? So same thing goes here, though. We want that from our vendors, and guess what? Your customers want that from you. Oh, the post office. Sorry. Okay. Well, can we do it differently? UPS, FedEx, whatever. Okay. Yeah. I maybe can do that differently if it's important to my customers and it's important to them. Then we got to figure that out, and say, yeah, we can do that perfectly. Give them that option. Maybe you split the difference in the cost with them or something like that, because you got to do your part to be part of the solution as well. And then you move forward. So good stuff there. All right. Mike says, I also think that everybody will finally have the light bulb moment about how their hosting, communications, and order processing are tethering to the internet. The recent "we shut down your business in an hour" is a great incentive to start researching now. Yep, that's a bigger picture thing to look at, Mike. I like that a lot. Just kind of understanding, who has control over the things in your world that can make a change without much opportunity for you on your side. So make sure you have some backups and things like that. Agreed. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to get to my third thing, but I want you guys to just bring out anything. Okay. And don't worry about what it is that I'm talking about. I want you guys to share some of your predictions as I'm talking about this third thing, and we'll try to cover those. And then, we're about an hour here, so we'll close it right after that. So Wendy says, my first blog and email of the year to my clients was about the supply problems, and I listed some suggestions to fleece. That's perfect, Wendy. Yeah. So here's the problem. I'm trying to be upfront with you. So so you can plan ahead, so you can look to your future, right? And then, but I'm not just sharing the problem. I'm not just throwing out the problem. I'm also giving you some alternatives. Here's the alternatives that I've come up with. I'd love to talk to you more about some other options. What are some other things that we can do together? So that's perfect, Wendy. Cheers. Clap, high five, whatever it is. Great job by you. I love that. And thank you for sharing that with everybody else as an opportunity to grow their business as well. So again, my first blog and email of the year to my clients was about the supply problems, and I listed some suggestions to fleece. There you go. Awesome. All right. Excuse me. Sorry about that. All right. So let's talk about number 3. And like I said, I'm looking for you guys to just start throwing some of your predictions out. What do you see happening online, e-commerce world, just in general too? I'm open to that as well. But the third thing that I think we're going to see more of, and it depends on where you're at and who your customers are, but as the majority of the purchasers shift, all right, so we kind of the millennials, the baby boomers are starting to fade out. The Gen Xers are getting up there, depending on where your target market lands on that age scale. The customers you're dealing with are starting to potentially change a little bit, right? And the younger people are coming along, and the sustainability. So that is the third thing, is that I think that more and more people are going to start making that idea of sustainability and the importance of sustainability a piece that they start making buying decisions on. Now, I know, again, a lot of people might not have those customers right now that are that concerned about that potentially, or you may, right? But regardless of if you do or if you don't, I believe the trend will be that there will be more people that do than don't, right? So with that being said, what is it that you're doing? What are the conversations you're having? What is the information you're taking in? What is the bigger picture problem that you're helping to be a part of solving? What are those things in your business that A, are important to you, but B, how do those things link in with what's important to your customers, right? So, for example, yeah, and I'll admit this, and I hate to admit this, but I honestly was not, as a younger man, I was a person, whatever, I was not all that tuned in or understanding of some of the sustainability challenges that we're going to face. And I think we will solve these things, and I think we will come up with ways, but it is going to take a lot of work towards it, a lot of innovation towards these things. But I kind of poo-pooed the whole sustainability. Who cares? But I started to realize that, people like my son, my 9-year-old, he doesn't have that luxury, right? He doesn't have that luxury to go, I don't really care. Somebody else will deal with it. Well, our kids and our kids' kids, our grandkids, are going to have to deal with this problem, it seems, right? So again, my point being that you are going to have more and more potential customers where that is an important piece. So again, what is it that you're doing about it? And think about what you do. Do you have an opportunity to recycle? If you're a sublimator, we use blowout sheets. If you're doing digital printing, you've got waste in cover sheets and parchment papers, and think of all the boxes, the massive amounts of boxes that are being shipped around the world right now. While we can recycle cardboard, there is so much of it that they can't recycle as much cardboard as we're putting back in each day, right? So, in fact, a lot of that stuff used to kind of get sold to China. A lot of the recycling stuff kind of got sold to China because they had need for it and they were taking it, but there was so much of it that even China doesn't want it anymore, and it's starting to just fall into other countries and just become a big mess. So think about the sustainability of your business. And again, it doesn't have to be this massive, I'm changing everything and doing everything. Just think about the little improvements that you can make, and then start having those conversations with your customers, because you might find out that your customers actually care more about the sustainability of your process than you realized. And that might be a huge selling point for you, that you do things that are good. You make sure that you're just following some best practices when it comes to disposable recycling, off gases, all of those kinds of things that can be important to our entire world. How do we participate in it? Maybe you're also getting involved in some more local cleanup efforts, or maybe you're getting involved in a more, clean water to third world countries or something like that. I will admit this, not readily, but we're amongst friends here. So yesterday morning, I was looking at a couple of things on YouTube to try to get some information and figure a few things out. And a ad came on after the end of one of the videos that I had watched for a company called Charity Water. And it ended up being I think it was almost a 10-minute long video. And I sat and watched the entire thing. And about halfway through, I was not just welling up, I was full on crying. Just the story was so powerful and so amazing to me that it hit me really deeply. And so I'm sitting there crying, and I started to realize, that is actually something that's important to me too. And so we're going to talk about it as a family. But again, just start having these conversations, start putting stuff out there, start understanding what's important to your customers, because they are going to change. They are going to grow. We always evolve as humans. So that's my third thing. What do you guys got? What is it that your experience is showing? What are some predictions that you have for things going forward? What are the new fun things that you're going to try this year? We had all of the changes that came from 2021. We're still dealing with a little bit of that, but at the same time, and the new normal is a term that gets thrown out there a lot, but it's not just a term that's thrown out there. That's the reality of it. Things that we used to think were just it was for somebody else. I've DoorDashed, I was never really a DoorDasher before. And I've done that. And even when now I can go in where I live, we can actually go to restaurants still. They're at limited capacity, but I can still go sit down in a restaurant today. There are times where it's just you know what? I'm exhausted. I'm sitting on my couch. I do not want to get out of my couch. And though it's going to cost me 25% more, that 25% is worth it for me to go, boop, button, food shows up, I eat, and I pass out on the couch, right? So what is that new normal in your world? And how are you dealing with it? And what are you trying to do? I'd love to hear that. And while you guys are coming up with any suggestions, if you have it, throw it in there. And we'll talk about that. So let's see. I think that's about it. I just wanted to check my notes here. And those were the three things. So let me just review those real quick. Personalized products, but also personalized experiences, get real targeted down, get really focused into a niche, a particular customer group, and do good things for them, and then they'll become a customer of the bigger cycle of products that you have. All right, so that's number one. Number two, more and more acceptable athleisure, streetwear, just generally kind of dressing down a little bit. And how can we use that to our advantage? We did talk about the fleece shortage and some of that stuff, but there's still creative ways to do things, right? There's still, I need different things. I actually, because we're in a inside all the time, the hoodies that I wear are basically just t-shirt material, right? So I love those hoodies because I've got the pockets, I still feel cozy, but they're not where I feel like I'm sweating. So I've got lights pointing at me right now and they get a little warm sometimes. I can sit and wear that here in front of the camera and I feel good. I feel fine. So think about that. And the third thing was just to look at sustainability, look at what that means for us, look at what that means for our current customers, as well as trying to predict what our future customers are going to want. I know for sure that my 9-year-old will make more purchasing decisions based on what is important to him than he will make based on what it costs. Right. So our parents, the 40s, 50s, 60s, and some of you may be there, or some of you are like, that's not my parents. My parents are your age, Aaron. But wherever you're at, the people that were in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, they'd come out of the Great Depression. So they made a lot of purchasing decisions based on economy and things like that. Then you got into the 80s, 90s, early aughts, and it was like, oh, the excess, just status, want to feel good. And I think we're going to start growing into making purchasing decisions based on what's important to us, right? What the cause is, how we're supporting other people that are important to us, that kind of thing. So, all right, Christine, what do you got here? DoorDash has been a lifesaver for me. Shipped as well, SHIPT. I'm not real familiar with that one, Christine. I know I've seen it, but Shipped, since I have to be really careful about virus exposure, having things delivered has been a great convenience. And I was not a DoorDasher before either. I will be from now on, though. That's a really great point. And see, and that's perfect. I know Christine does have to be very careful about exposure because of the risk and things like that. And I love that she's got those tools available for her to still have the light, to have dinner and to do the things that she needs to do to continue on. That's awesome. So, yeah, Shipped. I got to look that one up. I don't really know a whole lot about that one. That may be one that I start using a lot too. I like it. Thank you. Learning stuff. All right. So anything else that you guys have? Again, we covered the 3 points. But unless you guys have anything else, I'm going to go ahead and close it up here. If you guys have any specific questions or need anything from me, you can hit me right here at my direct email address, which is aaron@montcoconsulting.com. And if you want to check out what we've got going on over at our success group, our website is right down here. This way, whatever. You guys get it, oursuccessgroup.com. So check that out, and appreciate you guys tuning in. Here we go. Shipped is groceries. I haven't been to a grocery store in probably almost a year. Oh, wow. Okay. So bigger here in our area is Instacart. So I hadn't seen Shipped a whole lot. So maybe it's just whatever area you are. So Wendy said, gave me real food for thought today. Thank you. You're very welcome, Wendy. Thanks for being here. Appreciate your comments and suggestions and chiming in. I love it. So perfect. All right, everybody. I think that'll do it for today. So we appreciate your time, and we will catch you back here 8:00 again next Saturday. I've got a couple topics I'm bouncing around, but if there's anything specific you guys want to talk about, again, make sure you hit me up at my email address up there, aaron@montcoconsulting.com. Let me know what information you want, what information you want to talk about, and we'll make sure that we get that out there. We'll figure it out. And let's see here. Make sure I got what's going on this week. The other thing of note here before I do go, one last thing. Next Friday on Two Regular Guys podcast, we're going to have Matt Granados joining us again. He's with a company called Life Pulse Inc. And he's got a new book coming out. If it's not already out, it's coming out very soon, called Intentional Week. And his last book was a great one that I'm reading. I'm in the process of reading right now, is Motivate the Unmotivated, which again might feel a little harsh at first, but when you get into it, what is it that motivates us to do more than just the status quo? So looking forward to having that conversation with Matt next Friday. All right. And you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you again soon.